John, what time is it?
We have 18 seconds, Denny. 18 seconds until
All
1.
right, I'm just
No,
anxious.
it's 1 o'clock. There you go.
I haven't been on in a couple weeks, and you haven't lost everybody yet. I thought maybe I'd better get on here to get the last of people back. So go ahead and kick us off, John.
All right, guys, as a reminder, be sure to put your name and your location as your name, because we do pass referrals around here quite a bit. And unless you're Jackie down in Marco Island and you have a big sign behind you that says Marco Island, we may not know where you're from. And remember, participation is the key, guys. So thank you, Terry. Come on camera so we see who you are. And let's have a little bit of fun today. We're going to be covering all sorts of good stuff. And Denny, I know you were recording your TV spot this morning. Do you want to give any insights on that, or is it a little too early?
No. I'll have a thought of the day. And actually, I was all prepared. This is awesome. I was all prepared to do my TV spot today, and the station had the schedule messed up. So just before I hopped in the car, I realized that we have to do it next week. However, the information I was able to glean is going to be helpful for us right now. And again, welcome to Denny Grimes and Mastery of Real Estate. My co-host, John McLeod, also known as The Voice. I see some regular faces out there. We love you to participate, and we're going to keep it fast moving and relevant. So, and you kind of, if you participate, you might grow. And that's our challenges, and that's our challenge for you to grow. What we like is the mastery level role play. We practice question-based, listening-enhanced conversations. And if you can watch the screen behind me, I will show some things from time to time. And I will put a plug out there, John. We're approaching the 500. If you
Denny, I don't know what you just did, but I think you unplugged your microphone because you said we're approaching 500, and then you went completely dead on us.
Yeah,
there you go.
I bumped into the mute button. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know before I went in 45 minutes. So if you haven't done it already, go to Denny Grimes, the Master of Real Estate, and subscribe. We're approaching 500, and I'm working on getting this with some editing, so these hours can be categorized, and you can go back in and maybe pick and choose what you want to specialize in and drill down on. So here's my thought of the day, and this was going to be my TV spot. And I'm just going to throw it out there. And tell me what your blink is on this. So you can Google all kinds of things, real estate market, what's going on with the housing stats, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? The National Association of Realtors just published an article. Now, again, we're talking about existing home sales, stuff we do all around the nation. They said home sales are down again. They're a little bit behind in July over June. That's 8 out of 9 months that the sales have been falling. However, we think that the market is getting close to a quote rock bottom. Now, anybody have a blink on that? Does that pass a smell test based on what you're seeing going on in your market? Anyone want to comment on that?
Denny, I think in our market and where I'm at, it seems like to me it's just balancing. It's not hitting rock bottom. I think that we're just a balancing where the buyers have opportunity to negotiate, and the sellers, I think we're at kind of an even playing field. That's my take on it.
And for those who don't know, Archie is in Scottsdale, Arizona, another market that kind of mirrors ours in Southwest Florida. Thanks, Archie.
Denny, just for the record, I actually named Archie in Paradise Valley because that's worth more than Scottsdale.
Yeah. Perfect. Also known as PV. Any other comments from different parts of the world out there?
I've seen things slow down in the past 2 weeks, but when I spoke to other agents in my area, they said that it was just the time of year and people are on vacation, people aren't looking at homes.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. Good to see you. So, all right, here's my blink, and then we'll get on to something. There could be 0 home sales for the month of any month, and the National Association of Realtors will probably their article will be good news. We have a lot of for sale signs that are out there. The National Association of Realtors is not the source you want to go for actually unbiased information about the market. Now, I'm not knocking them a whole lot. I just want you to watch their headlines because you have to take it with a grain of salt. This leads me to something I find that agents find themselves buying into, meaning I never want to say that the market may be retracting or prices may be falling. I always want to say it's, yeah, we're about bottoming out. Agents are afraid to say it because of they may be speaking something into truth that is not true. Here's my blink on it, and you can take it any way you want it to go. I don't know what the market is actually doing. And what they're comparing is and every month is down, 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 down. However, the decreases are getting less. So they're thinking it's approaching bottom. Well, that's because they want people to think it's approaching bottom. I say it doesn't really matter. People want to buy or want to sell for other reasons. And if they're not going to hold it just for a couple of years, it does not really matter what the market's going to do. And we are better off as agents. We're better off as advisors and quit predicting what's going to happen and just understand what is happening. So I was prepared to talk about the numbers in our area. August numbers are out. So we're already a month ahead of what they're reporting. And I'm finding too, what Archie said, one of the indicators I looked at is every month, how many new listings are coming onto the market. And it seems to be the listing inventory is slowing a little bit, meaning new listings. We had last couple of months, we've had a lot more listings. It's slowed. Now, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a month. It could be like just a month. The other thing I noticed is this. As our market is slowing compared to 2020, 2021, we're using 2019 as our comparison. That was our last best year ever in a rational market. Now, what I'm seeing, we started out in 2022, we were ahead of 19. I'm seeing home sales slow below 2019. So I don't buy the fact, and I don't quote articles that the market's going to bottom because that's predicting the future. They may be right, they may be wrong. And you know what? College football, this is my last statement on this. I don't know if there's any college football fans out there. However, you know they do that. They're going to be talking about the games all day long tomorrow, and everyone's going to have an opinion. And no one's always right. NFL the same way. So when you hear people talking about the market, just file it away. I don't care if you really like them like a Gary Keller. I don't care if Tony Robbins is talking about the market. Nobody really knows. I watch every month the number of sales compared to that of last year, not last month, because that's a seasonal indication. I watch what prices are doing on the median price. Is there a trend? And the third thing I watch is the number of new homes coming on the market. If you just watch those three things, you'll have a pretty good indication of what's happening where you specialize. So that's my thought of the day, guys. Be careful of all these national real estate gurus giving you their predictions. That's no different than a college football scouts telling you exactly what's going to happen on Saturday. What do you think, John?
So, Denny, it's interesting. I am going to actually throw a comment in here as to why numbers don't matter. That should shock you that I would say something that numbers don't matter. The bottom line is numbers don't matter. In any market, there is somebody that has to buy a house and somebody that has to sell a house. Does not matter what the market is doing. There are always, always, always people out there that have to move. Their family is growing. Their family is shrinking. They got transferred. Kids are going to college, whatever the case is. How do you find them? And then when you do, how do you have conversations with them? That's what we're talking about here, is how to have the conversation. Because when somebody says to you, oh, the market's doing this, does that have anything to do with their motivation to sell?
Well, why don't we have a conversation about that?
It doesn't. Right?
Yeah, that was a shocking statement coming from John. John's a number guy. So why don't we demonstrate that? I think that's a fair point. Why don't we demonstrate that? So John, you're over at my house and you're thinking about selling. I'm thinking about selling my house. And I'm a little bit concerned. You've gone through your listing presentation, so we've not rehearsed this. We never do. Maybe you can tell we don't. It's just right off the cuff. All right, well, John, I'm not really sure now is a good time to sell. I've noticed that basically the median sales price seems to be down. I mean, seeing more for sale signs. I don't think, we're not getting, I hear my neighbors, their house has been on the market now 6 weeks. They're not getting a lot of offers. Now it's probably not a very good time.
Okay, I get it. I get your concerns, Denny. I've heard that once or twice. Let me ask you. If you take the market out of the equation, why are you selling?
Well, we don't, this is, our last child moved out, and we've got, we don't need this much space, and we'd like to get maybe a little newer, a little closer to the beach, those types of things. We can have a little love nest.
Awesome. That's great. It's, you know what? I aspire for that. And let me ask you, Denny, what's important about being closer to the beach?
Well, my wife likes it. We like this. We like this. The smell of the salt air.
That's awesome. And you know what, Denny? Let's be real. It's not just your wife who likes it. You like it too, right?
All right, come on.
So how much longer do you have left before you aren't going to be able to enjoy that?
Are you really saying? Are you really asking me? Am I about dead? How long am I going to live? Or what are you really asking me?
I'm really just asking is when do you? I mean, how long do you want to wait before you start enjoying that?
Listen, I just said I don't think it's a good time.
Okay, and I get it. So when is a good time?
Well, let me ask you, can I sell my house for as much right now as I could have 3 months ago?
Why is that important? Because if you can't, doesn't that mean you can buy a place closer to the beach for less than you could have 3 months ago?
No, that was a pretty good recovery, because when he came back at me, just saying, you got to be careful. Sometimes you get folks out. I felt a little bit like, well, wait a minute. It was a little combative. He came back and he softened it. Which is
exactly why I like doing this on video, guys. This is not a conversation you can have over the phone. You have to be able to see how they respond facially to any comment you make, because exactly right. That could have gone any direction.
Right. So when we've got the model up, John, you started out with the acknowledgement, and you kind of went into my motivation. Let's just kind of end it with the follow the model, as far as so we can have somebody pop on and handle another objection the same way. So you did the acknowledgement. What is the isolation?
So other than your concerns about the market, is there anything keeping you from moving forward?
No, I mean, I just feel like I screwed up, and I could have probably got 50 grand more for my house.
Awesome. And so what does the $50,000 mean to you? What does that do for you and your wife in regards to getting you closer to the beach?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to drop $50,000 on the sidewalk and walk away and not feel good about it, would you?
No. And let me ask you this: what if you could pick that back up on the buy side?
There you go. There you go. Remember, we're talking about understanding what they're thinking, and then help them see what they're not seeing. Because if I'm worried as a seller that I'm not going to get top dollar, that means I'm not going to pay what I would have paid. And so that's a perfect way to kind of balance that out. And you know what? And he actually was listening, because he used my analogy. What if you could pick it up on the sidewalk on the way on the buying side? Very, very nicely done. So where should we start today, John?
Denny, this is a great one. I had this happen last week, this exact scenario, except the sellers just learned that they're expecting their first child, and they wanted to wait a year for the market and the interest rates to recover. So I just went through this entire thing, and thankfully they were both accountants, so I got to do it the way I like to do it. Anyhow, so I think that dealing with nervous sellers right now is going to be on everybody's plate. Every one of us as salespeople will say, well, you got to sell. The problem is we're always telling them. So I think that if we practice the conversations and coaching them, so everybody in the call is able to coach their prospective sellers into realizing what the right decision is. We can't tell them. We have to coach them into it as agents, right? So I think this is a great place to start, is sellers who want to wait because they heard, the market's going to rebound. If you were at Mega Camp last week, the market's going to rebound in a year and a half. I can wait.
Is that what they said?
Gary got up on stage and said that he feels that this is probably a 2-year slightly downward cycle.
Okay.
And we're about a half a year into it.
Got it. So do you want to role play what you're talking about? Do we have,
It was the same one we just did.
Okay.
Who is feeling really punchy today and wants to be the agent who's going to step up and coach their seller into this? And guess what? I tell you, there's people on this call that do $40-50 million a year that are always volunteering. And I would like to think that part of the reason they're doing that is because they are putting their best foot forward and practicing on calls exactly like this. So who wants to step up and be the agent? I'm going to call on somebody who doesn't normally do this if somebody doesn't step up.
I'll step up, be the
All right,
agent.
Archie Dean. Who's going to be the nervous seller? Sandra Marconi's our nervous seller.
good pair, good pair. And you guys, I've got the model up behind me. Let's make sure we follow the model. All right.
And you are face to face. All right, Sandra, you're at the table with Archie, and you're concerned about the market going down, and you don't want to sell.
So the reason that you're concerned about not selling would be, what is your reason why you're not typically uneasy about selling today?
Well, I'm just really concerned, Archie, that, the market here in Houston has definitely shifted. We are in a recession, whether the government says so or not, but it is definitely affecting us because we are in oil and gas.
So let me ask you, I can understand your concern, but other than that, is there any reason why you would not sell today if you had the opportunity?
Well, sure. A couple reasons, like I'm going to sell my home, but because of pricing and inventory, I know that there's nowhere that I can go to. So I think that's kind of a big concern. Like, where am I going to go?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I can help you find that place to go and also take that fear away from your selling, your fear of selling, would that work for you?
So I'm going to just put a timeout here just for everyone. Okay. So he was perfectly on model. And however, now we ask a closing question. Has he isolated yet? I really want you to stay there other than that, until they say uncle. So Archie's too fast.
Okay, I'm just going for the close.
Yeah.
Other than that, is there any other reason why you're outside of the government and what you're looking at? Is there any other reason than that why you wouldn't happen to also sell?
One more thing, and this is why it's instructional, and I appreciate you allowing me to interrupt you. I have learned in these role plays that I'm always writing down what they're saying, the words Sandra used, know where to go. So when you say, well, other than being concerned, there's nowhere to go, what else? Because you already mentioned one, that was we're in a recession. So one is economic, the other was nowhere to go. So I'm going to encourage you guys, when you're on the Zoom or even in front of them, there's probably nothing more shows that you're interested in them as you write the words down, keywords. Okay, so go from there, Archie. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, so if I can help you.
No, not yet.
Oh.
Sandra, other than maybe being concerned about nowhere to go, is there anything else holding you back?
Oh, got it. Anything else holding you back? Got it.
You want me to answer now?
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Time's up.
You know what, Archie? My husband's been out of work for 2 years, and so that's another big issue there. Just financially, will we get what we need to get out of our home? Will we be able to get that equity? And just like I'd already mentioned, the fact that the inventory is low. There's just a lot of emotional behind our situation.
Sure, I can definitely understand and appreciate that. Yet, if there's enough.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Wait. Keep going. You started to close yet? Are we at the end of the? I mean, I hope we're at the end, but we don't know yet because she's not said there's nothing else.
Okay. Is there any other reason outside of the financial situation where you're at And if we can show you,
Hang
to
on,
help you.
you don't have to close. Just say, and again, if someone's going to give you a laundry list, and you might as well grab a Snickers because you might be there a while, right? Do a short job of the acknowledgement, or other than that. All right, it sounds a little bit, Sandra, like when you said your husband's out of work and you mentioned financial, that kind of goes back to the first thing we talked about when you're concerned about the market. Is that kind of similar?
I mean, it is. And you've also got the fact that, this is the house where, we brought all of our children home. And, this is a family homestead for us. I brought 4 children here. I raised them here. They've all graduated. They're fully outstanding citizens within the world. And yeah, there's just a lot of heart and soul in our home.
So what you're saying is you have a lot of emotion in the home, and we're looking at as an emotional transaction and not a business transaction. And is there a way that we can take the emotion out in order to get you and your husband where you need to be?
Now, see, I know Archie's going to probably, he's going to hate me now. Archie I would like to have you like run a race for me because you are so ready to run. What I want you to teach is this lady is full of issues. We need to get Dr. Phil in on this call real fast, right? Because and Archie's picking up. This is emotional. It's getting to be a little bit of a quagmire. However, I want you to hold until, all right, I totally understand. Is there anything else? And you're hoping not. So just for this,
That's the Denny, Denny. I just want to close.
Yeah, just for the sake of this call, Sandra.
Yes, sir.
Just say no.
No.
All right.
Perfect. Other than that?
Now we got to that point. Everyone's glad. Okay, so all right, we can pay attention now. What's important about allowing her to let all that out? If you would have done a logical close on that before you knew the emotion, do you think it would have worked?
I don't think so, because the emotion is stronger than the just wanting to sell.
Now I know Archie wants. This is supposed to. All right, so I'm not going to apologize. This is my show. This is not a closing situation yet. There's one key piece that I think you need to pull in before you try to solve the problem. What is it? I know Don knows what it is.
Motivation.
There you go. You guys, when you have a complex situation, you've got to go, why in the world why are you there talking to this lady? I mean, I don't even want to list your house anymore because I think you should stay.
I was kind of curious about that too.
However,
how do you get in my house?
However, there's a reason there. So now you go to motivation. So go to motivation, Archie.
Yeah. So your motivation directly is, why is it directly that you are wanting to sell directly?
I'm so sorry.
Outside of the lot of
Ask the question and stop. Ask the question and stop.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? Exactly.
I'm scared now. Why are we here? Well, you door knocked on my house, and I kind of felt sorry for you, and I thought, I'd invite you in, and it's intriguing.
Now, she's lonely too. All right, so let's just say let's keep it like, okay, there's a reason why. Okay, so I understand.
Okay, so I'll give you a reason. So okay, Archie, so with my husband having been out of work, we're just trying to see what we can do to minimize excessive costs. Our home is large, the potential to downsize. So that's why we're here today. Although I know I have a lot of baggage with me.
Understood. So what you're trying to say is that, it's time to make, so you're an empty nester now, house is too large, you're looking to downsize.
Yes.
That's not what I heard.
Oh, That's not what you,
I didn't hear her use the word empty nest.
Well, I said yes because I am, but okay, that's fine.
This is what I heard. Now, correct me, maybe John, you can pop in there. I hear the emotion. She mentioned it twice. Her husband's out of work. This is a financial decision they're making, and it's stripping her gears because she really doesn't want to leave the house for all those reasons. However, I think she's attempting to be prudent to go to a house that may be a little bit more manageable financially. Now, is that where you were going, Sandra?
Yes, sir.
got it.
They're really polite in Texas, Denny. Yes, sir.
What happened, John? What happened to you?
Just they're really polite in Texas. I mean, yes, sir.
We're polite till you piss us off and then we'll pull our gun out, okay?
And then you get hate mail. Anyway,
So let's do this. All right, awesome. We got to that point. Who wants to handle that? Now that we've got to that, and this could be a real situation because there's a lot of emotion tied up here. Remember, logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. Where would you take it? Who wants to take it over and land the plane?
Whitney does.
You lost me on all that zigzag and whatever. So somebody else might have to pick it up.
Yeah, well, Whitney will get right to the point. Well, let's just put your tissues away. Let's get on with this. All right, go ahead, Whitney. How would you land the plane?
I don't know because there were so many objections. I just got distracted.
I got
It
it.
comes down to finance.
On finding a new home. I'm sorry, somebody else might want to grab it. But
Yeah, well, if she didn't hear the beginning, she's not going
All
to. Who was paying attention, I should say. And
Keith was. He's like, kind of.
Yeah, he's watching.
let's go.
No, I was definitely paying attention. I got some notes here.
Let's do this.
All right. So,
Bring it home.
all right, Sandra. So, it seems to me that you want to minimize cost because your husband's out of work and that situation seems kind of dire. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I definitely feel that pinch. So would it make sense to you if you would want to sell today and get the price locked in before the price goes any lower?
I mean, that does make sense. I think just, the other issues that we have, it's just the emotional attachment. It's a process.
Absolutely. Definitely a process. So let me ask you, Sandra, what does it look like if you can't move because you can't get over the emotional attachment to the property?
I mean, we would have to just dig into our retirement fund, which we would prefer not to do that, but we would have to do that, just to make ends meet.
Right. Well, I definitely wouldn't want you to do that. So if I could show you how to get what you need for a price so that we can get you guys into a smaller place that's easily more manageable, would you want to sell today?
If you could get me into a home that would fit our needs, and that's my concern, that would be more manageable, yes, we would be willing to do so, but I would need to see that up front.
Absolutely. So like one of the interesting things is that, if the sales prices are down, would you agree that the purchase price would go down too?
I would think so, but then you've got the issue of the higher interest rates as well too, because we've got a 2.875 now, and now we're looking at a 5.5.
Absolutely.
So that means I'm going to have to really downgrade in a home in order to not necessarily get what I have now, but potentially get into a lesser home than what I have.
That's right. So what does downgrading look like to you, emotionally speaking? That's something that's difficult for you?
It is very difficult. I love my home.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, especially with raising all those kids there and everything.
Oh, don't say that. You're just going to anchor that emotion. She's going to be crying now.
Well, I was kind of trying to get her to work through it with me, like a team, but
I'm in
just
counseling.
a strategy.
Hey, Denny,
So
let me, Denny,
go ahead
let
with a
me,
bonus, John.
I want to bring Keith back a couple minutes, okay? Sandra mentioned dipping into a retirement fund,
Right.
and your response was, "I definitely wouldn't want you to do that." Let's rephrase that. All right.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want her to do that. I don't think that really digs the
Resonates.
knife in deep enough.
Okay.
So, Sandra, let me ask you, if you and Dom had to dip into your retirement account, how is that going to affect things a year or two down the road or 5 years down the road for you guys?
It's horrible because, well, you know, we're freaking old as is, so we'll have to keep working in order. We will outlive our retirement if we start dipping into it.
So does dipping into it really make the most sense for you guys?
Well, of course not, John. Of course not. But you have to do what you have to do in order to survive too.
So what could you do to avoid dipping into your retirement account?
Well, like Keith and I were talking about, you know, getting into a smaller home, but I know my expectations are here and what I'm going to get is here. So me coming to that realization that I've got to downgrade in order to be in a good environment, financially, emotionally. Yeah, it's just going to be.
Well, I guess the question is what's going to hurt more? The downgrade, which could be temporary, or the depleting funds for the future?
The depleting funds.
Okay.
So I think we got to the point now here. She basically is a motivated seller that's just finding it difficult to pull the trigger. One thing I want to share with you on this as we go to something else is this. Do not forget any seller you're talking to out there that may be looking at what could have been several months ago versus what they have gained in the last 2 years. For example, I'll just use our stats. Our median sales price is up 70% in 2 years. So that means their equity has grown 70%. So let's just assume our median sales price is down 20. Is it so? If you went to the casino and you basically were up $10,000, would you feel like you left if you got on a losing sprint and you lost several hands in a row and you're at 8,000? What would be the wise thing to do? If you were at 10, now you're at 8. What do you think the smart gambler would do, John?
The smart gambler is going to take the money off the table and leave.
Yes. And so would that gambler consider themselves a loser or winner?
Winner, because the net is higher than when they started.
You've got to remind sellers that have owned for the last couple of years, they're playing with the house's money. They are ahead. And so just because they may be leaving, they gave some chips back to the house, doesn't mean they've lost. One more point. She said they have to downsize. Then she used the word downgrade. I would not repeat that word. I would have said, well, I thought we were talking about downsizing, right? That's not downgrade.
That's a good catch.
So anyway, Sandra, you're awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you. Stop doing this to me, John.
And she sent me hate mail privately, but that's a whole other story. All right, I need a buyer who doesn't like the rates and an agent who can handle it.
Well, Don will be the agent, and
Don's going to be the agent. Awesome. Gets him out of his comfort zone because he's typically listings. So, all right,
Okay.
who's gonna be my buyer?
I'll be the buyer.
All right, Whitney, thank you. You guys are face to face at the office having a chat. Ready, set, go.
All right, focus, Whitney, okay?
I got you, Don.
keep it short for her.
So Whitney, if I'm correct here, you say you want to wait for rates to drop. Is that right, before you buy?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Other than that, Whitney, is there anything else that would cause you not to buy in this market?
I don't know. Prices are so high. Oh, no.
No. I want to just say, I would say build equity or own, not buy. I would just say that's probably, I was just talking to Don. Play it any way you want, Whit.
No, I like that. So is there anything else, Whitney, that would prevent you from establishing some equity right now?
Yeah, I just feel like homes are so expensive. So
Okay.
interest rates are high, home values are high. I don't know.
All right. And are you renting or do you own a house right now?
I rent.
You're renting. Okay. All right. So other than continuing to pay rent and watching the market, is there anything else that's stopping you from getting into that right home?
I don't know. My rent's 2,000, and with these rates, my payment will just be so high.
Okay. So you're paying $2,000 in rent. Are you saying that you won't pay any more than that to build out your own equity?
Yeah, I've been open to it for the last 6 months to a year.
Okay. And what's stopping you from now?
Well, these rates just jumped so fast. I wasn't prepared.
Okay. So I guess the first question I want to ask you, let me ask you, how much do you think prices are going to come down in the next year, Whitney?
I don't know. I'm already seeing price reductions like in my neighborhood and
Sure.
all that.
Let me ask you a question. Did she mention prices are falling? She's complained about prices rising and interest rates rising. Has she ever said prices fall?
No. Good point. So interest rate, you're right. Interest rates are going up. How much higher do you think they're going to go?
Who knows at this point?
Right. How much is your rent going to go up?
It hasn't been raised in 5 years, so I'm doing pretty good so far, but
Ooh.
that could always change.
Yes, you're right. And your lease ends when, Whitney?
I'm actually month to month.
Ouch. So are you aware that landlord could drop a hammer on you next month and raise that rent a lot?
What else might they do?
Sell.
What will you do if the owner decided to sell and you had 30 days to get out?
Whitney, true story, Denny. Whitney, may I share with you a quick story about my sister-in-law?
Sure.
She's been renting a home for 6 years. Single gal, divorced, deadbeat ex-husband, 2 kids, 2 jobs, had a foot surgery. Landlord just legally gave her 30 days notice that she's got to be empty and out because they want to sell their home.
Yeah, it's happened to some of my friends.
Okay. What happens if it happens to you?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Really? You don't know? You're a smart gal. What's going to happen?
I don't know, Don.
Well,
So
what's happened to your friends, Whitney?
Hey, that's not really the issue. That's not going to be the issue. The issue
That's
is
why I'm not answering. So I'm saying, okay, let's stay on.
Okay.
Yeah.
the issue of, but I wouldn't even go down the road. I mean, I'll say, well, we're having a conversation about you owning. What there must be a reason you do want to own. What is it?
Oh, I just want to stay in San Diego forever and own a piece of property by the beach.
Okay, good. And let me ask you, if interest rates don't go up that much, Whitney.
Hang on, Don. I'm going to get you off that. I don't think that's the path to take at all.
Okay.
A couple things, guys. When people bring up rates, there's no. What do they mean? What do they mean? You've got to break it down because there must be a dollar figure you break it down to. Because all right, here, let me just take you back, Don, and get ready to take over. So you've been looking at 6 months to a year, right? Whit?
Yes.
Why didn't you act back then, a year ago?
It was just so competitive. I don't know. My agent, we wrote multiple offers, and that's why I've got you here, because hopefully we can have better results.
Well, if you could have a magic wand, do you wish you would have bought a year ago instead of now?
Yes.
Why?
Rates were lower. the house I really wanted, I missed out on.
However, now rates are higher. However, there's not multiple offers. So therefore you can buy a home for less now than you could have a year ago.
Even though values are higher.
Well, we're not seeing values. You think a house with 30 multiple offers and versus a house that's not getting multiple offers, which one sells for more money?
I don't know, but I feel like the values have gone up in that difference, meaning we might not be paying 100,000 over, but that's what they're listed at now.
Okay, so you think the values are still going up?
I don't actually know.
Now I don't know. You're kind of going sideways back and forth. So you're not allowing us to kind of pin you down.
All right, well, let's say
So just,
no values are not going up. I just think they're at a peak. So then how do you handle that?
so when you said the interest rates are going up, I'm just going to give you guys, we're going to end this one here because we want to go on to something else. You say the rates are up. How much has it changed your monthly investment based on the new rates?
About $1,000 a month.
Most likely, they're not going to know.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not telling you, you have to say that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
most likely they're not going to know. Now that you know it's $1,000, okay. And we don't really know her motivation because she was a little slippery there. I want to own near the beach. So what you want to do, you definitely have got to get them to a number, and then you can begin to whittle it away. Oh, by the way, $1,000. Quickly, this is how you would do it. How much, John? How much is the government going to pay of that $1,000?
How much is the government going to pay?
Yeah, it's interest.
On a rent or on an own?
No,
Grant money?
No, she's going to own. Her payment's going to go up $1,000 because of the interest rates. How much is the government going to absorb of that for her?
The government's not going to absorb any of it.
Interest is a write-off, John.
Oh, well, yes and no. Don't forget, that gets really complicated. But yes, because you've got standard deductions, there's some markets like ours and Whitney's where it is, but other markets where it's not. So.
Okay, mortgage interest is deductible.
Yes.
But however, if it's not, then I won't even go down that road.
Let's do it this way. So, Whitney, you're paying rent now, right? You said $2,000.
Yes.
So when you leave, how much of that are you going to get back?
0.
If you buy a house and your mortgage payment's $2,000,
$3,000.
even if it's $3,000 or $4,000, do you think that some of that is going back in your pocket in the way of paying the loan down in equity?
Oh, I'm a first-time buyer. I never thought of that.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the good news, Whitney. It says you're going to be paying a mortgage. Would you rather pay yours or would you rather pay somebody else's?
Mine.
Good question. You got her to quit, running, and now you can start to reel her in. So Don, do you see why I really, anyway, I don't get a lot ball down in the interest rates, what they're going to do in the future. I just don't go that way, because the fact is she's paying 100% interest now, paying rent. The delta is 1,000, and even if you're paying 3,000, if the property values are going up, like you say, at least you're building equity. So thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Don. And we have time for one or two more quick ones. So who has got something to stump us? Something maybe you're working with or had an appointment. Al, you had an interesting one we can talk about if you want to on that message. Is that something you want to talk about?
I think she ended up jumping off, Dan. I don't see her on here.
Okay.
Or maybe it's something, guys, that stumped you. And you're like, man, I just got schooled by this buyer or seller. I have no idea how to even respond to that. What do you guys have? Bring it.
I'll give you the scenario. I'm a seller and I'm upset with you. You're my agent. Now I've been on the market a month and it hasn't sold. And I want to know what's going on. Who's going to take this one?
Oh, this is a good one, guys. We practice this one a couple times a month. This should be second nature for you guys.
You got to step up, guys. Come on. This is how you learn. It may not be good TV, but this is how you learn.
I see movement in Terry's screen. Terry, are you there? I see an arm. Oh, she's got to take a phone call. Okay. Who wants to jump in on it?
And Mark Benson, I hadn't heard from him in a while.
Mark, you there? I think Mark is in incognito mode. Normally when he's able to
Sorry,
participate, his camera's. Oh,
sorry,
there he is.
I'm in a public space. I can't really talk.
Okay.
All right, Mark, thanks. All right, well,
So Denny, you've already got the form up there. That's the beauty of this. Is guys, the answer is already behind Denny. Come on, Keith, unmute yourself. I can see you lip syncing here.
Yeah, I was unsure if it was the three outcomes.
Oh,
or not.
no,
I'm
it's the
like,
three outcomes, man. It is the
yeah.
three outcomes. And
Okay.
don't forget, well, I'm not gonna give you any hints. There's another
Got it.
part of it, but go ahead. And it's you and Denny.
Hey, Denny, how's it going today?
are you kidding me? I'm just, didn't you get my message? I'm a little bit PO'd. It's been on the
Yeah.
market a month and we don't have a contract.
Yes, I share that disdain. I did get your message. So did you remember the fishing sheet that we went over?
Have you talked about it since the listing day?
No, I haven't.
So note to self, you guys, you've got to be talking to your sellers every week.
Weekly.
Not, yeah, but not W-E-A-K-L-Y, W-E-A-K-L.
Yeah. Gotcha.
This pot will boil over faster than you know it if you don't have conversations with your sellers. That's why you've got to refer to this sheet every week. So just let's assume now that, okay, this is you have.
We've
Well, yeah,
gone
I mean,
over it.
you talk about the sheet every week. You talk about the sheet every week, Keith.
So Denny, based on those discussions, where do you think we're at on that sheet?
That is perfect. I mean, you don't have to do a lot of explaining and just go right back to it. Well, let me ask you. I only remember 3 showings in the last month, so I'm not really sure if that's outcome 1 or outcome 2.
Right. I mean, I guess we could sit here and debate all day between 1 and 2, but the one thing we can agree on for sure is that it's not number 3, right?
Yes, this is that was beautiful. We're not an
That was
outcome
a home
3.
run, man. I got chills hearing that. It was awesome.
I mean, I want to do burpees right here. I just wouldn't know if I could get back up. So, all right. So no, we're not in 3. But however, it's like, I told you that, we had an initial price of, $550, and we've got several showings, and I'm not quite sure you're doing everything you need to do. How do you know that's my price and not your marketing?
Well, it's hard to know anything for sure these days, but as you know,
hang on a minute.
You got me, man. That one got me.
No. Hang on a minute.
Analytics.
Yes. But
That was the part I was going to remind him about. Like, no, I can't remind him about it.
The thing that he just did there is what we do when we're nervous and don't know what to say. He's buying time.
I was.
You're better off being quiet than saying something you don't want to say. When the professional says we don't know much of anything, it's probably not what you want your doctor to say. And I'm not being critical. I'm just that's a point. He is buying time.
He was.
All right. So who's got it? Don, you got it?
Yeah,
Don?
sure.
right.
Denny, we have analytics of, well, let me back up. Do you know how buyers find homes, Denny?
Well, I'm sure they, open houses. They probably pick up magazines at Publix and internet.
Right. Denny, 30 years ago, you're 100% right. Signs, open houses, drive around neighborhoods. These days, 99% of all buyers are looking at first what? What are you looking at as a buyer every day?
See, that's the great question. Well, yeah, we're on Zillow all the time.
Everybody's looking at Zillow first before they go out and drive neighborhoods and go to open houses. They're looking at that Zillow all the time. And on Zillow, so we have analytics here. We have, let's see, in the last 30 days, we've had 822 people actually click on your property. So they're noticing it. They're circling our bait. They're looking at it online. We've had, let's see, 79 people actually open up more of the details on it and actually confirm that they're looking at the pictures and all that. I've had about 8 calls from all of that. So the marketing is working. People are looking at it, but they're not coming to see us.
So you're on the right track. Let me just give you a danger zone. If you say you've had 8 calls and no one's come to see it.
I knew that.
What's the problem with that, Don?
Where are those 8 people? How come you couldn't sell those 8 people, Aldrich?
Exactly. Don't paint
Shut
yourself
up.
in that corner.
So-
However, say now again on your follow-up, because you're going to have to start following up with sellers more often, like every week, you should be offering, hey, it would be like to, hey, Don, there are appointments for our update. I know we haven't had the showings. Let me let you know what's going on behind the scenes. Boom, 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 boom. You've got to keep doing that because this proves that your marketing's working. So, all right. So now, all right, well, but why aren't people coming to look at it, Don?
So the point on that is every week as you're calling before this 30-day call, the prior weeks, so that this is not new news to Denny, I should be bringing out those analytics every week in our follow-up call, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Denny, it's proven that the marketing is working. They're circling the debate. They're not nibbling. So we are clearly, if you got your 3 outcome fishing sheet there, we're clearly at number 1, which says we're receiving little action. We've had 3 showings in 30 days, right?
Yep.
Okay. How many showings do you think it takes to sell an average home, Denny?
I don't know, and I'm interested in this answer because I'm going to push you on. I don't know.
Okay, I understand. On average, it takes at least 10 to 12 showings. MLS statistics show on average it takes at least 10 to 12 showings for a buyer to buy a home, to make an offer to buy a home. So if we continue getting 3 showings a month at this rate, that's 1, 2, 3. That's like January before we get a buyer. Can you afford to wait that long?
Now, what's interesting about this, and this is a give and take class. All right, Don, where did you get that information?
I would never do that. I did it in the role play. I would do it. I would pull it out before I ever gave it to a seller.
Well, first of all, it's not true. How many buyers have bought a house unseen in the last couple of years? How many buyers bought a house with 1 showing?
A lot.
The other thing that's not true with what he said is that if you had 3 showings in a month in the market we're in, particularly if it's flat or maybe going down a little bit, does that mean we're going to have 3 showings every month? No. So time won't solve the problem. It will only get worse. So I don't know where you came up with that. I just don't want anybody to use it.
Yeah, don't copy that. Strike out Richard Nixon. Let's throw those tapes out. Those 18 minutes of tapes, Denny. So all right. So I guess and one more point is if the seller wants to argue with you on our outcome 1 or 2, let me ask you, does it matter? The solution's the same. That was a great point what Keith said. Doesn't matter whether we think we're at 1 or number 2. Bottom line is, Denny, we know we are not at outcome number 3, right?
Okay, now let's see where you take me. No, we haven't, and we're not there. And right. I didn't know all those people are looking at my house. So what do you recommend?
Right. Well, they're obviously rejecting our home right now at that price, Danny. So we're going to have to reposition the bait. The only question is how low do you want to lower that bait?
Okay, so I love hearing this because I hear things I say and it doesn't, and I think that could be better. I don't think sellers want to think about how low. Where do you want to reposition to sounds better than how low do you want to go?
True.
It's not a limbo contest, right? So, we're at 550. We're at 550 and we had 3 showings. So what do you think, Don?
Well, Denny, if you're a buyer for a house at 550, if you felt it was worth 525, would you have made an offer at 525?
I don't know. I mean, a lot too many factors for me. Maybe, maybe not.
Okay, well, the bottom line is we haven't had any offers at the 550, so we've clearly proven that that price is not being accepted by the buyers that are out there. So I just don't want to have these conversations. Let me back up. Reducing the price $5,000 or $10,000, Denny, isn't going to get it done. We're going to have probably a 10% price reduction if we want to get activity. Can I give you the good news on that?
Okay.
Well, going from 550 to 500, that's a major hit. The good news is it's going to bring in all the buyers that are in the 4s looking up to the 5s that haven't seen your home at 550. And it's going to seem like an amazing house for the buyers that are already in that 500 to 550 range. We're going to get both buyers, the lower buyers and the higher buyers, to collide with each other. So by repositioning yourself down at 500, we may be able to create a multiple bidding war and drive the price back up $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Isn't that better than chasing the slinky down?
Well, what's interesting about Don is, I mean, he's a pro. I mean, his business is really booming. So I'm being a little nitpicky with him. He traded in his shovel and got a backhoe and just kept digging himself a hole. How did he do it?
Tell me.
Well, what expectations did he set up in my mind if I go down to 500?
That we're going to have a bidding war.
And what if it doesn't happen?
Then I'm looking like lost.
Why paint a picture that you have no control over? Because that may not be the number. Let me tell you really quick in the last minute or so how you can do that. So, all right, we're at 550. So congratulations. We've learned 2 valuable lessons. Number one, the market is saying no at 550 where we're positioned, and it's eliminated, and we've eliminated every price from there up. So we know we have to go and reposition lower, correct?
Right.
So based on when you want to sell, do you want to be a moderate adjustment or an aggressive one?
At this point, I'm getting out of time, so I'm going to have to be more aggressive, Denny. How aggressive do I need to be?
Well, many people at 500,000, when you're in $500,000, do you think, now this is the same thing you said, I'm just going to ask as a question. Do you think $5,000 or $10,000 means much?
Not really.
And the next major price point is 500, and we could be at that, or maybe at the 499. That may open up a new market for us. How do you feel about that?
Well, new market means more buyers, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that we're obviously going in the right direction if you lower the dollar. But however, you think that, if we get in that 5 or just under that 5, yes, it could be buyers that haven't even considered our home yet. So how does something in that range feel to you? Now, you don't have to answer. I did the same thing he did without all that fanfare and promising multiple offers or whatever. Do not promise multiple offers, you guys.
Denny, I like that. I traded in my shovel for a backhoe and got myself in a deeper hole. Thank you.
So the bottom line is, if the seller is going to say, is that going to make it? All right, well, we get action there. All right, so now you're my agent again, Don. We'll close with this. Will we get action at 500 or 499.9?
Yes.
Uh-oh, there. Now you've got a steam shovel.
I know.
We won't know unless we try.
I was going to say that.
Well, no, I'll give you the correct answer. Well, I tell you what, one of 3 things are going to happen.
You'll have little or no showings. You'll have showings, but no offers, or the home will sell.
Yeah, you won't even have to repeat it because we've been talking about it for 4 weeks. One of 3 things will happen at 499. You want to get started there? So you got to be careful. I know we preach, don't be putting your fingerprints on the initial asking price. don't put it on the new positioning either, because that can come back to bite you the same way.
Okay, I guess it hasn't in so long that you're right. That skill needs to be unrusted.
I think just that years of experience, and John, you can close, and if there's any ahas, I just don't want to make statements that I don't think I can back up.
Yep, thank you.
To that point, Denny, when you start making statements that you end up being concerned about backing up, how are you portraying yourself? Are you coming across as a professional? Are you coming across as somebody who is overly confident? Are you coming across as somebody who's nervous and scared? When you say something that you can't back up, you're not 100% certain you back up, what image are you portraying of yourself to the client?
Well, you guys would have to be the judge of that. Obviously, we're scared. I mean, some of you, here's the thing is that I think it's common sense. I'm pretty common sense based. I know what I know, and I don't know what the future is going to be. So any great professional should be like that. So I'm coming across confident that here's what I know for 100% sure, John. One of three things will happen.
Yep.
And
love it.
I mean, I don't know how else to answer that.
I was tempted
that's
to say
great.
more. I was tempted to say more, and then I foolishly said yes, and I could be backing myself into a corner. So, thank you. Always learning.
Awesome. All right, couple ahas, guys. What do we got? Don just had a couple there.
I like to pick up the difference on the buy side.
Awesome.
That was good.
What else do we have, guys? Augustina?
I like the Zillow analytics because I was not sure where to get that information. So thank you for that.
Awesome.
Thank you
I
for saying
think
that.
just remember to bring the fishing, in our pre-listing presentation if we don't already.
Yep.
I think that's very important, and that's just a key to go back and forth to.
The one word thing about, thanks, Archie, the thing, I would not use the word analytics. I would use the word activity. This is the activity of your home. It sounds a little bit less sterile to me. Now, I don't think it's a big deal. I just think I'm learning all the time better ways of saying the same thing. So
Awesome.
one
I
more.
have a question. Are you taking questions?
Hang on a second, Whitney. Let's get Glenda's got an aha before we get to your question.
This is what John had said. It kind of hit my mind and thinking more. Numbers don't matter in any market. There's always somebody that has to sell their home. And that's so true. In case of moving or whatever. John, I enjoyed that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Glenda. Thank you. Whitney, your question.
I'm looking for your best one-liner for the interest rate as a write-off. Besides, like, how could you put that to somebody who doesn't know better? Like a first-time buyer, you're like, hey, there are tax benefits to ownership. Go ahead.
The only time I'm bringing up interest as a write-off is to investors. I'm not bringing it up to owner occupants, because in most cases you have a standard deduction now of what is it, $27,000 that includes your interest. Your interest is included in that. You can only write off the interest on your first $750,000 of your principal residence and second homes. So in most cases, especially the interest rate environment we've been in, you're not going to pay $27,000 in interest annually. So I avoid that until we're talking investors. You need to look at it from a different angle, and that angle isn't what are you saving by buying, is what are you making? To use Denny's line, are you more interested in saving money or making money?
Thank you. And we don't give tax advice, right?
And we don't, we don't give tax advice. So guys, remember, there is never a shortage of buyers, only a shortage of realistic sellers.
Oh, that's a Dennyism.
It is a Dennyism.
Thanks for filling in for me the last couple of weeks, John, and I'll be here next week too. So tell your friends, let's have some fun. Let's rock and roll, and be careful out there.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.